Hello, I'm Jina Kim, the host of the GeoVista. Tension and uncertainty. These may best describe the current state of the international affairs. As the conflict between Israel and Hamas intensifies, its impact is rippling far beyond the region, raising serious questions about the future of global stability. What kind of future awaits us amidst the Mid-Eastern crisis? In today's episode of the GeoVista, we will take an in-depth look into the historical context and current situation of the conflict, offering expert insights and analysis. Join me, Jina Kim, as we navigate the complexities of the Middle East crisis. October 7th marked the one-year anniversary of the conflict in Gaza. But on that day, it was not the Hamas that engaged in the fierce military exchanges with Israel. It was Lebanese militant group Hezbollah. Hezbollah has become deeply involved in the Israeli-Palestine conflict, treating it as their own. But who are they, and what is their agenda? To understand Hezbollah, we first need to look at Lebanon's unique political environment. Lebanon is known for its sectarian politics, with a population comprising Maronite Christians, Druze, and both Sunni and Shia Muslims. When Lebanon gained independence in 1943, political power was distributed to prevent religious conflict from destabilizing the country. The agreement gave the presidency and the role of military commander to the Maronite Christians, the prime minister's position to the Sunni Muslims, and the speaker of the parliament to the Shia Muslims. Why was this structure chosen? It was based on 1932 census, which found Maronite Christians to be the largest demographic group in the country at the time. The problem is that no census has been conducted since then. Lebanon has suffered from deep sectarian tensions for decades, including a brutal civil war fueled by religious divisions. As a result, conducting a new census has been seen as too dangerous that could potentially trigger conflicts. In fact, asking about religion in Lebanon is now considered a socially sensitive topic, something to be avoided. Meanwhile, the Shia Muslim population has grown significantly over the years. Their increasing numbers, coupled with their lack of political influence, has led to growing frustration within the community. Tensions within Lebanon's Shia Muslim community were further inflamed by a major Israel's invasion of Lebanon in 1982. Israel's initial objective was to eliminate the Palestine Liberation Organization, which had been operating out of southern Lebanon. The invasion was triggered by an assassination attempted on Israel's ambassador to the UK, allegedly carried out by a Palestine terrorist group. However, Israel's military campaign went far beyond its original objective, advancing all the way to the Beirut, Lebanon's capital. This resulted in the death of countless Lebanese civilians. Under mounting international pressure and condemnation, Israel eventually withdrew. It was in the wake of this invasion that Hezbollah, an anti-Israel militant group, was born. Hezbollah, which means Party of God in Arabic, is both a hardline Islamist organization and a military force. In fact, Hezbollah is believed to possess military capabilities stronger than Lebanon's national army. You must be wondering, how did Hezbollah come to wield more power than Lebanon's national army? The answer lies in strong support from Iran. Hezbollah's rise was not only shaped by Israel's invasion, but also heavily influenced by the Iranian Revolution of 1979. Ayatollah Khomeini, who led the revolution and established Iran as the Shia Islamic Republic, was committed to spreading his revolutionary ideas across the Middle East. He also made no secret of his animosity toward Israel, a key ally of the West. In this context, Lebanon's disaffected Shia Muslims, already harboring resentment toward Israel, became natural allies of Iran. Iran has since provided Hezbollah with substantial support. Lebanon's proximity to Israel made it geopolitically valuable, giving Iran a direct means to challenge its adversary. With Iran's backing, Hezbollah not only grew stronger, but also entered Lebanese politics in 1992, securing a significant political role. Today, Hezbollah continues to exert substantial influence in Lebanon's political landscape. Hezbollah's reputation as one of the world's most powerful militant groups was solidified through key confrontations with Israel. In 2006, Hezbollah kidnapped 2 Israeli soldiers near the Lebanese border, prompting Israel to launch another invasion, this time under the pretext of rescuing its soldiers. In reality, they escalated into a full-scale war against Hezbollah. The war lasted for 34 days, and the majority of international condemnation was directed at Israel, because Lebanon's death toll was 8 times higher than Israelis, and most of the casualties were civilians. Ultimately, Israel's military failed to secure the release of the kidnapped soldiers and was unable to dismantle Hezbollah. The Israeli forces were compelled to withdraw, leaving behind a reputation of a failed mission and accusations of civilian massacres. On the other hand, Hezbollah, which was once seen as merely a guerrilla force, earned recognition of its military capabilities by standing up to Israel's regular army. Of course, that doesn't justify Hezbollah's acts of violence. In response to the war, the United Nations adopted Security Council Resolution 1701 to bring an end to hostilities, establishing the 120 kilometers blue line as a de facto border between the two sides. The long-standing tensions between the two sides took a new turn with the outbreak of the Gaza conflict on October 7th of last year. Public opinion towards Hezbollah within Lebanon is far from uniformly positive. While Hezbollah continues to enjoy support among Shia Muslims, both Christians and Sunni Muslims harbor significantly negative views. This discontent is especially strong among younger generations, who express growing frustration with Hezbollah. However, the Lebanese government has lost the trust of its citizens after decades of corruption and economic hardship. Given Hezbollah's substantial role in national security and political stability, many Lebanese find it difficult to solely blame the group. And the prolonged vacancy in the presidential office caused by sectarian strife has allowed Hezbollah to further consolidate its power. This complex and decades-long conflict between Hezbollah and Israel, spanning over 40 years, raised important questions about the future of their hostilities. As this development continues to unfold, global attention is once again focused on the Middle East. Now, let us delve deeper into the factors driving Israel's intensified military offensive. Joining us in the studio is Ambassador Ma Young-sam, the only diplomat who has served as head of the mission in both Israel and Palestine. Welcome, Ambassador Ma.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
So, during your 30 years of service with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, you must have seen various conflicts in the Middle East. So, how would you assess the current crisis compared to the past?
compared with the past conflict, the level of tension now is very high. The Israel-Hamas war started with Hamas' surprising attack on Israel last year. Since then, this war has resulted in high number of casualties in all the fronts, such as 45,000 deaths and over 100,000 injuries. In addition, more than 100 hostages taken by Hamas have not returned back home yet. And also the front line has been expanded to the north, where Hezbollah is based on. Nowadays, they are talking about possibility that Israel may strike Iranian nuclear facilities or oil facilities. So I think the tension is very high now.
Yes, compared to the past ones. So, as you mentioned, at the beginning, the crisis was between Hamas and Israel. But now, Israel is expanding the conflict by launching a strike against Hezbollah. So, everybody is wondering why this is happening. What is the reason behind this escalation?
I think this time, Israel wants to make fundamental changes on the security situations surrounding Israel. At the beginning of the Hamas-Israel war, as you mentioned, Israel said that their goal for fighting is to eliminate Hamas's power in Gaza, and also they want to take back the hostages as soon as possible. And for the past year, Israel forces has substantially weakened the capabilities of Hamas. Now, Israel wants to check the situations in the north, where Hezbollah is still firing missiles and drones to the land of Israel. About 60,000 residents living up there had to flee down to the south. And also, the Houthi rebels of Yemen, they are also sending their fires, missiles and drones. And also they are disturbing the navigation route in the Red Sea. 2 weeks ago, Iran also fired 180 advanced missiles into Israel. Now, Israel thinks that this is a time to destroy completely axis of resistance. That's why the level is very high in terms of tension.
Yes, you explained that there are multiple fronts in this crisis, but some argue, by the way, probably Prime Minister Netanyahu may have political or personal reasons for doing this. Do you think he has a personal agenda?
Many people they argue like this. The Israelis, the political situation is quite complex. Netanyahu this time had a coalition government with the far-rightist groups. These parties, once they are in the government, they are asking to Netanyahu to have a very aggressive, very harsh operations against Hamas and now against Hezbollah as well as against Iran. Netanyahu has to satisfy their demand because he wants to keep coalition government. This coalition is quite unstable. If one or two parties withdraw from this coalition, the government will collapse down. Then their general election is to be held, but nobody knows whether Netanyahu will keep his power through these new elections. If he cannot, he has to stand trials for his corruption charges. If convicted of guilty, his political career will be over. That's why many people think that Netanyahu prolonged this war intentionally by taking very aggressive operations against the enemies.
So you must know the internal dynamics in Israel. Just 1 year after you were appointed as ambassador to Israel, Prime Minister Netanyahu regained power and maintained his influence over a very, very long time. So do you think the current crisis is directly related to the current political landscape in Israel?
I think so to some extent. Israel still maintains the multi-party system. Under this system, no single party can obtain more than 50% of a seat in the Knesset. For the last 50 years, usually the left-wing Labour Party or right-wing Likud Party could have the largest number of seats in the Knesset. So after any elections, either one of these parties were leading to form the government. But this time, usually in such a case, they are inviting the parties in the center to join the coalition. But this time, Netanyahu chose the right-wing parties. Now these parties are driving out war strategies based on their principles. So that's why it is very dangerous. So international community is very alarmed of this new development.
Right. You mentioned the political system in Israel, but what about the public opinion? Because you've been there for a long time, so I guess you may be informed of the current situation through various channels. So where does the public opinion in Israel stand right now?
The public opinion, that is also very complicated in Israel. There are two groups of people. There are one group, after Israel was shocked by the Hamas surprise attack last year, many people think that this is the right time to make a harsh retaliation against the Hamas. There is a widespread support for the Netanyahu's further operations against the Hezbollah. But on the other hand, there is another group of people who think that already Hamas capability has been very much weakened. So it is the right time to make a deal with Hamas to get all the hostages back home. These groups of people, they are participating in the protest against the government, which were organized by the hostage families. Netanyahu is checking those two streams of public opinions. Up to now, Netanyahu is on the side of the first group.
So the society is quite divided on this issue. So the key question here is whether Prime Minister Netanyahu will continue to escalate into something like striking against nuclear facility in Iran. If that happens, we may see an all-out war, right? So do you think Israel is ready for this?
The all-out war, this cannot be entirely ruled out. Because now Israel is very strongly motivated to secure their national security this time. They think that this is the right time because Hamas as well as the Hezbollah, they are in trouble now. Therefore, there are very strong voices in Israel that let's strike Iran's nuclear facilities or even the oil facilities. But if it happens, it will make a very serious impact in international security as well as on global economy. That's why international community are working very hard to prevent it. Netanyahu and Biden had a conversation talk just a few days ago. They are discussing what kind of options they are vis-a-vis the striking against Iran. Currently, news media mentioned that Israel may narrow down the target. But still nobody knows. So we will see what will happen.
We see retaliation after retaliation, and it does not seem to end, right? So based upon your extensive experience as a head of the mission in Palestine and Israel, do you think there can be an end to this crisis?
To find a lasting solution to the Israel-Palestine conflict, it is not easy one. Do you know that there are 5 political leaders who have received the Nobel Peace Prize in recognition for their contribution to promote the peace in Middle East? But permanent peace in the Middle East seems still far away. Many people are now talking about the two-state solution. Two-state solution is basically Palestine people as well as Israeli people. They live peacefully side by side within their own borders. But to make this two-state solution successful, they have to solve 4 key issues first. These pending issues are border issues, refugee issues, and settlement issues, as well as Jerusalem issues. But for the last 76 years since the first Middle Eastern war broke out, there have been a lot of changes on the ground conditions. That's why it is very difficult to see one of these issues can be solved. Then we have to abandon this solution. There are some group of people in Israel, as well as in Palestine, who hoped for coexistence, living side by side. But these people, as this is the war drags on and a lot of casualties happened, then they started to give up their hope. This is a very serious one. And then I think highest priority should be given to the trust building process between Israelis and the Palestinians. It will take a very long time, but still I think this is the only way forward.
Yes. Certainly, the international community should exert some leadership and also develop an access strategy to manage this crisis. So thank you for your time and sharing your insights with us.
Thank you very much.
It's been a busy week around the world. Let's dive into some of the top stories from all over the world through images. Let's look at them together. Novelist Han Gang has become the first Korean author to receive the Nobel Prize in Literature. On October 10th, the Swedish Academy praised Han Gang's literary work for her intense poetic prose that confronts historical traumas and exposes the fragility of human life, citing it as reason for the selection. Han Gang had previously made history in 2016 as the first Korean to win the International Booker Prize for her novel, The Vegetarian. As the conflict spreads around the globe and civilian suffering intensifies, literary reflections on how the trauma of historical violence takes roots and is passed down through individuals have garnered special attention this year, leading to this prestigious achievement. On October 9th, Hurricane Milton swept through southeastern Florida, ripping off the roof of a Major League Baseball stadium. In just 3 hours that evening, St. Petersburg received 228.6 millimeters of rain, equivalent to the region's average rainfall over 3 months. Especially, 3 months' worth of rain fell in just 3 hours. With the Federal Emergency Management Agency already facing funding shortages, recovery from Milton following Hurricane Helen is said to be another test of the Biden administration's disaster response capabilities. North Carolina, a key battleground state where polls show a tight race, was particularly hard hit, with widespread disruptions to election infrastructure. The damage to the postal system, crucial for early mail-in voting system, could impact voter turnout. The world's largest beer festival, Oktoberfest, wrapped up on October 6th. Some 6.7 million beer enthusiasts from around the world reportedly attended, collectively consuming about 7 million liters of beer. Oktoberfest began on October 12th in 1810 as a celebration of the wedding of Crown Prince Ludwig of Bavaria. However, locals say that the true heart of German brewing lies further north in the medieval town of Bamberg, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Unlike the large-scale breweries in the south that dominate production and marketing, Bamberg is home to small, family-run breweries producing around 2,500 different kinds of beers. So, where's the real beer capital of the world? On October 10th, Samsung Electronics was ranked third among global companies on Forbes' list of world's best employers. Forbes surveyed over 300,000 employees across 50 countries working at multinational companies with more than 1,000 employees. Samsung Electronics had held the top spot for 4 consecutive years since 2020. In this year's survey, Alphabet, Google's parent company, ranked second, and Microsoft claimed the top spot. The decline in Samsung's ranking by 2 positions may be attributed to its recent challenges, including operating loss in the semiconductor sector last year due to the downturn in the chip market. Additionally, in July of this year, for the first time in the company's history, the labor union staged a general strike over wage increases and vacation policy reforms, raising concerns about this company's stability. That's all for today's episode of the GeoVista. We'll be back next week with fresh issues to discuss. Thank you for joining us. This is Gina Kim, signing off from the GeoVista.